Our main attention this morning is going to be on the security situation in the country. Over time, there's been called for self-defense, and we'll look at a couple of techniques and how you can ensure that even your environment where you stay is also safe, because every now and then on the front pages of the newspaper, there's never a day that passes by that you would not hear or see a situation report regarding the security situation. And this is where we are at this point. My guest, Professor Adedeji Oyenuga, a professor of criminology at Lagos State University, joins virtually this morning from Ekiti State. Thank you so much, Prof, for being a part of the show today. So let me quickly get your assessment on what you have discovered and met so far regarding the security situation in the country. How did we even get here?
I have always been someone that believes that we cannot generalize. There is no country in the world with zero insecurity. So it means that in our case, it is very high in some places, very low in some other places. We can even say that in some other places it's extremely very low. So insecurity in Nigeria is higher than we expected. But then, compared to some other parts of the world, it is okay. It's just that most times people come out to say so many bad things about Nigeria, even when they are Nigerians. And then all of the things that they say sum up together to add to the current situation in the country. And most times they are just over-inflated information about the situation. So we are going to get there. And one day I believe that Nigeria is going to be safer and meet the Nigeria that we have always wanted.
Now, Professor Adedeji, are you indirectly saying that at this point, so what I deduce from what you said is the security situation is not just particular to Nigeria alone, as it happens in other parts of the world. So are you indirectly saying that we shouldn't be worried at this point?
No, we should be worried because this is not the Nigeria that we are used to. But then, used to before the year 2000. But Nigeria, we are doing all that we can to make it better. And I can see that they are investing more into security so that the situation can get better. So I'm not saying that it is the best that we can have, but we are getting better. And every day we come up with newer strategies to better the situation, and then for Nigerians to feel safer, and then to also attract people into the country. It's just that people do not say it when it is good about Nigeria, but they easily go to the social media to post everything that is bad about the situation in Nigeria.
Right. So over time, there's been calls for self-defense. Danjuma has been one of those persons, and also before we even get to the legalization of guns, it has also been on the front burner at some point or the other in the country. What is your take on this recurrent call for self-defense in Nigeria? Is it that bad that we do not have enough security outlets or officials or personnel to basically do their job at this point?
That's not what he meant. You see, if you check statistics, you realize that the country with the highest number of guns in relation to the population is Iceland. And that tells you that, and in the same vein, the country with the lowest level or the least level of insecurity is Iceland, because you know that there's a tendency for everyone to have a gun there, and then for you to try to do anything to anyone, you also need to be careful because you are not sure you are better than that person. You see, self-defense training is basic. If you go to the US, you see that it is a part of the training that their children go through from primary school or basic school, or what we call grade schools, up to the high school, and then in the university, they will still have the basic knowledge. The truth of the matter is we need to expose every category of human beings to basic self-defense. It's just a need, not necessarily because of the current situation in the country. It is a need. We cannot just walk around lazily about and then depend totally on the security agencies to defend us completely. Part of the reasons why people go for NYSC is to have basic military training. In the US, it would have been that the person will be drafted to the US Army for a certain number of years. So it's just basic. It's not because of the security situation. Even where the security situation is bad, they still have the training. So training, self-defense training is basic, and everyone ought to have at least a knowledge of neutralizing someone who has a smallest weapon.
Quickly take us through a couple of self-defense techniques that you feel an average Nigerian should know. I think the one ringing in my head now is correct. And interestingly, there was a video that trended some time ago where we saw even the security, some security personnel actually practicing the correct, training or exercise. But aside that, in your own understanding, what are those basic techniques that an average Nigerian should be equipped with?
An average Nigerian, my 10-year-old son is already learning boxing. And after boxing, he's going to go to judo. After judo, he'll go to normal wrestling, and then he's going to keep improving. He's not training to go and fight for Nigeria. He's never going to represent Nigeria. He's training to be sure that in any situation, he's certain that he will be able to handle the situation adequately. So for me, we have Jinjutsu, that is very high. Aikido is also very high, but we can just do normal judo, normal taekwondo, and then, of course, boxing. Now, any other thing is just something that is requiring more, and we may not have that time because we still need to do other things. But then, we just need to have basic skills. Somebody is holding a stick, one person, you know how to neutralize that person. It's normal. It's not asking us to go and get dressed for war. It's just asking us to equip ourselves normally, because you might find yourself in that same situation outside of the country, and then you should be able to escape from that situation.
How do you think self-defense training can actually benefit an average Nigerian, particularly in the terms of personal security as well as confidence? Because you have said it's just basic training, you should learn taekwondo, boxing, the list actually is endless, but how is this going to be of great, benefit to the citizens moving forward?
Okay, if you check my page on LinkedIn, there was a time I posted a video where I was putting my students through self-defense training, judo and taekwondo at the University of Ilorin in 2024. Now, what people do not know is that when you go through self-defense training, you are also going through what we call self-confidence training. When you know that you are adequately equipped to do some things, you have a little more confidence. It's when you have fear that you run away, even when you have the skill. So for me, I feel that when you have a basic skill, you also have the basic confidence. And then you will still understand that escaping from that situation is also an additional skill. So you will do all that you can to escape. So running away from fight is also a skill. But then you must create that route through which you are going to run away through.
Practical. If you can hear me, Prof, let's become a little bit practical. Looking at the locality where we find ourselves, how is it going to be pretty much easy for someone to identify, potential risk or threat in one's environment, right? And what are some of the steps to help, mitigate them and check them out?
Well, risk assessment is a training. It's not something that everybody has. Now you get to a new place, you look around. Okay, I got to Ekiti on Sunday night. I'm from Owena. I had to go through one road, and then I realized that it was dark, and then it was just bushes everywhere. And then I drove through that part for more than 30 minutes. On one occasion, there was a pothole that I didn't see on time. I entered the pothole, and I told myself that even if I had lost a tire at that point, I would still continue to drive. Now, when you have a deserted area and you have a situation like that, you do not stop. That's a red flag. So basically, you need to get to a place, assess the place, look at the people around, look at their faces. Now, sometimes you say that you cannot judge them wrongly, but you are the only stranger there. So you do not know all of these people around you. Therefore, you need to be careful with all of your dealings at that point in time. And when you get to where you are going to, lock your door very properly. Ensure that you use the hook at the back of the door. Ensure that you leave the key at the back of the door. Even if someone is trying to come in with an additional key or with another key, it doesn't go in smoothly. So these are the basic things that you need to put in place. So it's when you're in a new place where you do not know anyone, it's potentially not safe for you. You have to be careful.
Now, I would love to get your input regarding what you have discovered as the most usable and the most viable self technique that works anytime so far in your line of duty, Prof.
I've never found myself in a dangerous situation before, but I've always said that having judo skill is very, very important. Having taekwondo skill is also really important. And then boxing is also very important. So those three, I consider them necessary skills for self-defense. Hello?
Right. Yes, yes, indeed. So now, aside that, are there any other basic thing that you feel someone should be aware of regarding how to protect yourself, especially with personal
Uh,
security? What are the do's and don'ts?
any other thing that you carry is considered dangerous by the law enforcement if you do not have the right to carry them. Okay, for example, now I run a private investigation company. Aside from being a professor, you can see I'm wearing the uniform of my company because I came all the way from Lagos to train students of criminology and security studies at the Federal University of Ekiti. And I've been around since Sunday, and I'm not going to leave you until Monday. It's a 1 week training. Now, um, I can carry some things like a stun gun. I can carry pepper spray because we are allowed to sell them at the same time. We can carry the basic ones. But for every other person, carrying a pepper spray has suddenly become a crime. So therefore, it's not that you must carry a pepper spray. And the most important skill that I feel people should have is being careful with where they go to, when they go to those places, and all of the things that they see around. Even with all that I know about security, I know that it is wrong of me to go out 12 midnight in a state where I do not know every nook and crannies. if I go to Abeokuta, I could drive late because I am used to Abeokuta. If I stay in my Lagos, I can drive around late because I was born and raised in Lagos. I've lived almost all my life in Lagos. But if I go to a state that I do not know, I know that I have to come home early. I also know that if I want to leave this place, it is better to leave when the day is bright, not leave very, very early in the morning, because this is not a place that I really, really know, or I must put my safety into consideration. So the best skill a person needs to have is to be conscious of his or her environment, know places around, know the corners that you can run to, and then other things will now come into play.
You made
So even if you
mention,
have the skill to,
right. Okay, so,
okay, I was going to say, even if you know how to beat people, if you
hmm.
have those skills, you cannot beat 20 people at the same time. So being aware of your environment, mastering them, and knowing when to run, it's actually the best thing to do because it's all about risk assessment.
Now, over time in the country, there's been the call for the legalization of gun. One of the prominent person has been on the front burner in this is Senator Ned Nwoko of Delta State now. And you also made mention of pepper spray, but you have to be authorized to use pepper spray and perhaps gun as well at this point in time. Do you think we should be looking towards that direction in Nigeria?
Do you know that you can have a gun if you want a gun? But then you have to submit a lot of documents. You need to have what we call a status of recognizance. We need to be sure of what you are using the gun for or what you have the potential of using the gun for. Now, when you tell people that we are doing combat training, it means that they are teaching you how to cause war. But when you tell people that we are doing self-defense training, it means that we are teaching you how to make peace. They are two different things. And the name, that you may be learning the same thing, but then the names will tell you that for this purpose, my purpose, well, I am expected to ensure that I use it for only peaceful things. So if you want to own a gun, you have to be ready for all the registration. And there are documents that you must support that you will have to submit. And then you have to also subject yourself to a lot of tests so that they'll be certain that you are not going to be using a gun for the purpose of evil or for committing crime.
So, in your own view, are you in support of the legalization of guns in Nigeria or not?
Well, I think whatever it is that we do with gun right now should still be maintained. If you want to own a gun, do the proper registration, subject yourself to the right tests, and then you own a gun. Legalizing gun is not good for the company for the country at this point in time. If you know that you have the status that can hand you a gun, go for a gun. It's not even expensive to have a gun. It's not expensive. It is all about your personality and how the society perceives you.
Absolutely. Now, moving forward, talking about our security outfits and officials, what other things do you think they need to do at this point to ensure that safety is of the highest in the country? Of course, you are aware that, during the 2025 budget presentation in Nigeria, the security took major chunk of it, the large chunk of it. But till date, we still hear news of Boko Haram and Sergeant in Bornu, them taking over a couple of communities in the land, feeding their babies to animals. And this is where we are at this point. So moving forward, what are those things that security outfits and personnel should be doing to ensure that the right things are done in the right direction?
Now, number one is for them to have more training, more training, intelligence training, um, The number two is to have good relationship with the indigenes of the communities where they have been, where they have, because when you have a good relationship with the community members, they are able to collect intelligence more easily. But when they do not have a good rapport with them, they do not have the right information that they need to act when there is problem. And then number three is for us to equip them better. We need to equip them better. You cannot tell a law enforcement agent to go to a place where the criminals have superior weapons. Who is going to win? They are already neutralized before they get there. So you have to equip them very well so that they can have the confidence to face the enemy when it is necessary. So I think that's about all for now, because as we progress, the other ones can now come in. But those are basic.
What about what about the
Training?
role? What about the role of the
What?
federal government at this point? What's the role of the federal government in all of
You
this?
know that everything is about the federal government or the state government. If you want to have training, training is not for free. So they need to send them for the right training. If they want to have good relationship with the people of the community, it is left for them, because whatever relationship that they have with the community will determine how the community will perceive them. And then the last one is equipping them. And that is for the government. I cannot say that because I'm a police officer, I go and buy my own gun. No, I will only use the gun that the government have given to me. So those three are very, very important, because the second one will help them get the information that they need about the community. And then the first and the third one will equip them properly. And of course, with such um, knowledge and equipment, they are able to face any form of adversary.
DSP Bright Adafrey, thank you so much for being part of the show. Public Relations Officer, Delta State Police Command, SP Bright Adafrey, thank you for joining us. So, over time in the country, we've heard and seen stories and situation of the poor state of the security situation in the country. What is really going on at this point? Let's have your view and have your take from there.
In as much as we have to admit that there are cases of insecurity in the country, though I speak for Delta State, I must admit that out of every 2 or 3 security issues that we see, we must have averted or prevented 100. But the problem here is that we don't usually celebrate our successes. And that is why it looks like insecurity is overwhelming us. It is not entirely true. Yes, we have cases, selected cases that usually happens, but the Nigerian police force is doing its best to ensure that Delta State and the country at large is safe for everybody. How do you explain the number of rifles that we've recovered so far? Between the months of January to now, May, we've recovered well over 23 AK-47 rifles. I'm not talking about cut-to-size guns. I'm not talking about pump-action guns. I'm not talking about ammunition and cartridges. So we are doing our best. We are doing our best, and I can guarantee you that Delta State, which I speak for, is a very, very safe state to be and to visit.
Definitely. But generally speaking, in Nigeria, we've even seen lawmakers come out to cry out that this insurgency has taken a different toll and toll entirely in the country. We've heard cases of some of those Boko Haram insurgents and the other ones using great weapons that even our security outfits here in Nigeria are not making use of. What would you react to that saying?
Okay, like I said, it's always better to speak on what I know of. We are not having insurgency in Delta State. We are not having banditry in Delta State. I understand that some of these states they do have these challenges, but it will not be appropriate for me to speak on what I really do not know much about because I don't work there, I don't stay there, I'm not a witness to these challenges. And like I said, good news they say is not news. So naturally we tend to thrive on this kind of news. But the truth is, it is not as high as they are making us to believe.
Okay, now the use of technology has been on the front burner lately, with news having it that some of this insurgency get to use, or some of the insurgents get to use drones. Now, for the security outfit here in the country, are we well equipped enough in terms of technology to fight insecurity?
We are, we are absolutely. But the truth is, you don't tell your enemy your strength. When we arrest some suspected kidnappers and armed robbers, at times even 2, 3 months after they must have carried out the act, they get surprised and wonder, how did we do it? We are equipped, we have this equipment, these technologies, we are leveraging on it. But how we do it, where they are, how we use it is not something we have to make public because don't forget, even the criminals too have televisions, they have access to social media, they have access to internet, they have access to phones. So in as much as we keep our activities private and confidential, the better for us.
Okay, and there's been also cases and news that some of these guys are from, other parts of the world and not our own locally, persons here. Do you think that's the case? And what is the, security outfit at the moment doing to ensure that we get to fight it to the fullest? Of course, I know you said there's some information that should not be shared, but how informed really is this security architecture in terms of having foreigners moving into the country to, deal with our security situation?
Well, in as much as you are doing your best to see that I comment on issues that does not border on Delta State, it will be difficult for me to assess these situations because, like I said, we do not have that challenge in Delta State. If maybe you have the first public relations officer, the person of ACP Muyiwa Adejobi here, yes, he could provide answers to your questions. These challenges we don't have in Delta State. If you're asking me questions that relate to Delta State security, you get answers that you want. But when you're asking me cases in Bauchi, in Benue, in Borno, these are miles ahead of where I am right now. I have never worked there. I don't know their challenges. I don't know if indeed there are foreigners invading their communities. So I can't really speak on that.
Generally, SP Bright Interface, we're actually speaking in terms of, what we are seeing at the moment nationally in Nigeria. But let me have your take on what you think are some of the changes we need to have to improve our, national security architecture in the country. SP Bright, if you can hear
Partnership
me.
is key. Partnership is key. When I say partnership, the police cannot do it alone. In each and every of this community, there are locals. I cannot come to your house and take possession without an insider. So partnership is key. Community stakeholders should partner with the police, give the police and other relevant security agencies information, timely and useful information when needed. Because the police cannot do everything on our own. That's just the simple truth. The key to fighting insecurity in Nigeria is partnership with stakeholders, local vigilantes, traditional rulers, monarchs, and what have you, even students, NANS. Let us come together and understand that we only have one country that we can call our own, and that is Nigeria. We must come together, partner with the police, give the police useful, credible, and timely information that will help us to combat these hoodlums.
Speaking about partnership and local vigilante, we've seen in some parts of the country where even some of those traditional rulers, allegedly, and also local vigilante tends to partner with the other bad guys. So how well can we trust these individuals?
If they want to partner with us, that is because they have made up their mind to partner with us. So why am I saying partnership? If they are partnering with the criminal-minded persons, and we are now convincing them to partner with us, what do? They will not play two cards. They will leave and come to us. However, for those we arrest who are linked to all these traditional rulers, they are not immune to prosecution. They'll definitely be prosecuted. That's why we are advising them. There was a case in Otu Jeremy where after beheading that victim, some of the community rulers hid the suspects. Even when police went on the investigation, they declined to help. When we eventually arrested the suspect, those community leaders on their white, whatever they call it, and their beats, we paraded them, and it was a show of shame. So whoever partners with criminals should be ready to go in for it when they are caught.
And I would love to also get your input on this one regarding the issue of legalization of guns. Thankfully, you're there right there in Delta State, Asaba precisely. And we've seen a particular senator from your end, Senator Ned Woko, always coming out to talk about the legalization of gun. Have we gotten to that point here in Nigeria? And do you think it would work? Can we even manage the situation, is the question.
You and I know that we are not ripe for that. Let us not deceive ourselves. We are not ripe for that. I don't want to talk down on Nigerians, but we can be very hostile and high-tempered. Do you understand me? We are not ripe for that, because if we do that, I can assure you that we'll regret it. Even in the US, where it is allowed, they're having issues here and there, gang shooting, drop-by shooting, church shooting, killing people. They are looking for how to even cut down their gun laws, and we are trying to embrace it. Let us not deceive ourselves. We are not ripe for that. That's the truth. Yesterday I paraded 2 suspects, even though I'm not allowed to display their faces. The video you will see where a man who says he's a hunter kept the gun in his house. His child will go there. The child is 16 years, go there and will play with the gun. This man did not know. Lo and behold, one day the child was playing with the gun, and the gun triggered. The daughter who was passing by, his own daughter who was passing by, the bullet hit the child, and that girl died on the spot. So these are some of the things that we have to consider when we are saying carry gun, carry gun, carry gun. It's not easy that as we are looking at it. In the US, you and I know that the US are looking for how to bring down their gun laws, to see that they restrict the number of persons that are in possession of guns, because they are seeing the repercussions. So I don't think that's what we should be trying or thinking of embracing.
Okay, so another major suggestion so far in Nigeria has also been the call for self-defense. Would that work in your terms?
Self-defense with gun.
Well, maybe necessarily not with gun, though.
Nobody has always been against self-defense. But the truth is that as far as Nigeria is concerned now, there is no office that issue license to guns. So even if you are self-defending yourself with a gun that you are not supposed to be in possession of, well, you answer in court. However, for now, it is illegal to own a gun in this country. The approving authority is the police, and the IG has banned it. So we are not supposed to be in possession of gun, and I don't advise that we even push to be in possession of gun. Rather, let us partner with the police, get information. If you see a strange person in your environment, reach out to the police. If you see suspected movement in your environment, reach out to the police. It not concern me, na full country to the bond. Permit me that I'm using pidgin English, but it's a very serious issue. I will need to understand that the information gathering that gives rise to intelligence is the way forward.
Okay, so just before I let you go, SP Bright Edafe, we've seen news on socials and also allegedly where they say that, oh, Nigeria wants to partner with international bodies to help us fight the crime. Is that where we are at this point?
Well, that's not to my knowledge. It's not within my jurisdiction to know those kind of high-profile information. I can't really comment on that. I don't know if that is in the pipeline. For Delta State, I'm limited and restricted to the security activities of Delta State.
So what would be your final take to citizens of Nigeria regarding the security situation at this point in the country?
We have only one country we can call our home. Before the Nigerian police force, you are the first policeman, you are the first policewoman to yourself. When it is not necessary to go out, don't go out. When you don't have to go out at night, don't go out. When you need to be in your house, be in your house. If you are going, watch your back. Arm yourself with the telephone numbers of the police in your area, the control room in your area. When there's any information, reach out to the police. Let us not embrace what we call sensationalism. Oh, let us look for bad news, bad news. As I'm talking today now, if I say something wrong, every other thing that I've said might just go away, and the one that I've said wrong is what will now be trending on the internet. We need to change our thinking as Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SP Bright Edefe, Public Relations Officer at Delta State Command. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And also, earlier on, I did speak to Professor Adedeji Onyenuga, Professor of Criminology at Lagos State University. A great delight to have you on board as well.